Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into one single, absolutely explosive interview by Pakistan's foreign minister, an interview that sent geopolitical shockwaves across 3 different continents.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. On one side, you have a story that a former U.S. president has told over and over again about his skills as a dealmaker. And on the other side, a flat-out denial from one of the main countries actually involved.
So where does all this come from? Well, it's from a pretty recent interview on Al Jazeera with Pakistan's foreign minister, Ishaq Dar. And right out of the gate, the first bombshell takes direct aim at a narrative Donald Trump has been pushing for years.
What Dar is doing here is basically saying, yep, India's position is exactly what they've always said it is. He's putting it on the record that, from their perspective, any problems between these 2 nuclear-armed neighbors have to be handled one-on-one, no outsiders allowed.
And this one statement, just this one statement, completely blows up a story Trump has told. Get this, more than 40 times. He's used this story in front of huge global bodies like the EU and NATO to show off his diplomatic chops. And now, one of the key players is publicly saying, nope, didn't happen that way.
But, it wasn't just about setting the record straight. The interview also pulled back the curtain on what's being alleged as a kind of behind-the-scenes diplomatic trap, one that completely backfired.
The way Dar tells it, the U.S. had apparently promised to help get a dialogue started. He says he even asked American officials later, hey, what happened to those talks? Only to get the same answer again. India says it's a bilateral issue.
So, if you piece it all together, what the source is suggesting is a pretty wild sequence of events. The allegation is basically that this was a whole setup designed to force a meeting. They even had Pakistan's army chief waiting in the U.S. The whole plan just fell apart when India's prime minister turned down the invitation.
And we're not talking about a polite no thank you here. The message was apparently made crystal clear during a 35-minute phone call between the 2 leaders. There was absolutely no misunderstanding.
Okay, so that's the first bombshell. But just when you think you've got the story figured out, the interview takes this massive turn. The focus shifts dramatically from looking at the past to sending a warning about the future.
The conversation completely shifts gears, moving from South Asia straight to the heart of the Middle East. After an Israeli strike in Qatar, Dar uses this global stage to send a very different and very powerful message, positioning Pakistan as a defender of the entire Muslim world.
And he uses a really specific word here, Ummah. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, that's the term for the entire global community of Muslims. So right away, he's not just talking to Qatar, he's talking to over 1 billion people.
And this is the quote that really made everyone sit up. It's a direct, unambiguous statement. He's reminding the world that Pakistan is the only nuclear power in the Islamic world, and he says they have a duty to fulfill. The implication is pretty clear. This wasn't just some vague threat. He got specific. He basically laid out a roadmap for how a united Islamic bloc could put real, tangible pressure on Israel, legally, financially, and diplomatically.
And then, to add another layer to it, he follows up the nuclear talk with a reminder of Pakistan's very real, very powerful conventional army. It's like a 1-2 punch, the ultimate deterrent, backed by boots-on-the-ground strength.
Okay, so let's just take a step back and look at the big picture here. You have these 2 huge, separate statements made in the same interview. What does it all really mean when you put it together?
Look, this was not an accident. This was diplomatic chess, played out on live television. You've got one message for Washington, another for the Muslim world, and a completely different one for Israel and the West. Each one was carefully targeted.
So why does all this matter? The big takeaway here is that Pakistan is flexing its diplomatic muscles on a global stage. They're using the media to write their own story, whether it's correcting the past with the U.S. or drawing a line in the sand for the future in the Middle East.
And that really leaves us with this final thought, right? When one single interview can create ripples in Washington, New Delhi, and Jerusalem, what does that tell you about the incredible power of words on the world stage today? It shows that diplomacy isn't just happening behind closed doors anymore. It's happening right out in the open for all of us to see.